Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Got a note from Ed, and it's a short story, but it's out of Georgia. It's the kind of story that really makes you wonder. Ex-Georgia Sheriff Lieutenant pleads guilty to pocketing funds from citation payments. Stories from WSB. Former Georgia Sheriff Lieutenant has learned her fate after pleading guilty to a theft charge. In February, the former Walker County Sheriff Lieutenant pleaded guilty to theft by taking in a case involving the misappropriation of funds related to citation payments. So apparently, people would come in, pay their citations. She would somehow get in possession of the money and then misappropriate it. The investigation began back in 2021 when she was assigned to the Walker County Jail. She was suspected of taking money from cash payments made by individuals for citations that were issued in the county. According to the Judicial Circuit District Attorney's Office, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation agents learned that she'd been pocketing the money from citation payments between 2018 and 2022, so for 4 years. The GBI interviewed her, during which she admitted to stealing the money. Makes their job real easy. They come there to investigate you, and you go, yeah, I did it. She is charged with several counts of theft by taking and theft by conversion, which we'll talk about in a second. Last week, she pleaded guilty to those charges. As part of the plea agreement, she was sentenced to 20 years, with the first 4 years to be served in prison. So it implies that it's going to be 4 years of prison and then something else, which might be probation, house arrest, or some combination thereof. The former lieutenant was also ordered to pay the county of Walker County, more than $70,000 in restitution. Now, you wonder if they actually calculated it out and figured that out, or if that's just a number that seemed appropriate. Where they got the number from, I do not know. But she's been ordered to pay $70,000 in restitution. I would like to see a study done by somebody as to how much of the restitution ordered to be paid by defendants is actually paid back. I watch American Greed, and that's a show narrated by Stacy Keach about people who do ripoffs and scams. And I've seen it before, like the guy was ordered to pay $19 million in restitution and got 20 years in prison. So 20 years from now, when he gets out of prison, or possibly sooner, is he going to start paying back all that money? Probably not. So she'll no longer be able to hold any law enforcement position or any role involving handling or collecting money. Some people are going to know it and go, wait a second, Steve, we hear about cops getting in trouble all the time, and they quietly resign their position here and pop up over here. However, she has been told she can no longer do this. She's out. What did it take? Pocketing money. Now, some people will go, that makes sense to me. Other people go, wait a second. Some of the stuff we've heard of cops doing would probably be worse than pocketing money in most people's eyes. But of course, somehow money has a different, level of cachet to some people. District attorney said, I don't care if you wear a badge. You steal from the people, you answer for it. No one is above the law. Well, yeah, that's pretty good there. That's pretty good. So I mentioned conversion. And I've talked about this before, that you've heard the concept of stealing something. But stealing is quite a broad thing, right? So if I picked your pocket and you didn't find out till later, I stole from you. I stole your wallet. If I went over to your car and your window is down and I saw your wallet in the front seat and I grabbed it, I'd be stealing that also. If you handed me your wallet and said, hang on to this for a second, because I got to step over here and I'm worried about my wallet, and I'm going to come back in 10 minutes for it. You hand me your wallet, and while you're over there, I run away with it. That's stealing also. These are all different kinds of stealing. And of course, I walk up to you and I show a weapon and I say, give me your money, and you hand me your wallet. That likewise is a form of stealing. So there are all these different classifications and categories that we give those different things I just described to you. So if I simply take it because it's laying on the table there, that might be theft. However, if you hand it to me and I run away with it, but you handed it to me because you said, hey, will you hang on to this for me a second? Yeah, I'll hang on to it for you. That's conversion. Conversion is where you have something lawfully in your possession, but you misappropriate it for your own use. And conversion is what we often talk about in my business, believe it or not. If you drop your vehicle off at a car dealership and say, hey, I want you to work on this car. They go, yeah, we'll work on this car. And then one of their employees takes it for a joyride and wrecks it. Now, you might say, but Steve, what's the difference? If they take your vehicle out and wreck it, doesn't their insurance cover that? You'd think so, but number one, they often get in a fight with their insurance companies. The insurance companies say, well, we're here to insure your employees for test driving vehicles or moving them around the lot, not taking them for joyrides. But also, the fact that you turned it over to them for a lawful purpose, that is, they're going to work on the car and maybe test drive it, but instead the person takes it on a joyride, they have at that point converted it to their own use. And you might say, but again, Steve, these are distinctions only lawyers care about. Well, in Michigan, for example, if you convert the property or money of another person, you can be held liable for treble damages, meaning that the value of the goods at the time of the conversion times 3. Oh, wait a second. Now it gets interesting. And you might say, but Steve, why would such a law exist? To discourage it. That's the whole point. So I did, though, however, find the Michigan. Now, this is Michigan, but it's going to be similar in other states. The Michigan statute that defines larceny by conversion. Larceny by conversion, MCL 750.362. Any person to whom money, goods, or property shall have been delivered, who shall embezzle or fraudulently convert to his own use, or fraudulently use such goods, money, or other property, shall be deemed by doing so to have committed the crime of larceny, and shall be punished as provided in the first section of this chapter. But remember, the stuff's been delivered to the person, meaning that it was entrusted to them, turned over to them. And there are all kinds of situations where that happens. So the woman is working at the jail, and she's handling money. People are handing her money, and the purpose of that is she represents the county. The county says, you owe us money for a fine, and somebody goes, I'm here to pay my fine. They pay the fine to her in cash, okay? The reason they gave it to her is she represents the county. And the county has told her to do this, to turn the cash over to them. But instead, apparently, she turned the cash over to herself. So she didn't steal the money from the person who handed it to her, but she did steal the money from the county, but it was already in her possession. And so if you go back in the old days, old days, I'm talking about so far back that we wouldn't even know how many centuries to go back. There was probably a time where somebody did this, and when asked, why'd you do it, said, well, it's not theft. I didn't steal anything. They handed me the money. But you were supposed to give it to them. It's still not theft, though. I didn't steal it. Someone handed it to me. And so they had to create a separate form of theft that involves when it's in your possession legally, but you misappropriate it. And that's conversion, okay? So again, I gave all the different examples. You can have theft, you can have robbery, you can have, conversion, these different crimes that involve you misusing, misappropriating, or taking something that doesn't belong to you. And so it's an odd distinction, but for the most part, in the criminal setting, it doesn't really change much. It just allows them to come after you, and you really don't get to use the excuse, well, someone handed me the money. Yeah, for a different reason than what you used it for. And that's the key. So again, Ed, thanks for sending this. This is out of Georgia. And an ex-Georgia sheriff lieutenant has pled guilty to pocketing funds from citation payments and has been ordered to serve time in prison and pay back $70,000 from WSB. And by the way, some people are going to say, Steve, you're not wearing a T-shirt. True, I'm not. I'm wearing a baseball shirt of sorts. I don't know if you want to call it an actual jersey. It's not quite a full jersey. But someone sent it. P.O. Box is in the credits at the end of the video. And it's interesting because I've got several soccer jerseys, European football. I've got several of those. And when I got this, I'm like, wait, this is the first baseball one. I've got a T-shirt that says Detroit Tigers on the front of it. And I think I've got some for some other baseball teams that are T-shirts. So this is pretty cool. It's a first. And there you go. Questions or comments? Put them below. Talk to you later.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Never fight an inanimate object.